Have you noticed that your organic search volume has been down? In this video, I'm going to show you how to identify it and fix it. What's up, guys? I'm Milan from Milan Media. And before we get into the fixes, let's go back in time a little bit in the history as to why you've probably seen a reduction in your traffic. And maybe you haven't identified that it's your organic traffic that has been reduced, but just your traffic overall in general at your website hasn't been as much as it was maybe 12 months ago. And there's a main reason for this. That's from zero-click searches. Everybody's been talking about it for the last 9 to 10 months. It was on the radar of people before it was even fully released, but back around April, Google released it, and you guys have all experienced it, which is the AI overview when you search certain things comes up. That's causing people to not go down into the organic searches and actually click the link that has the information. So people are typing in a question, typing in a long tail search phrase, and getting their answer directly in the AI overview. And then from there, they can go to the cited sources, they can go deeper into AI mode, and Google's going to constantly be adjusting this. And that has affected people. And the statistics are crazy. Like, some people are saying that anywhere from 30 to 60% of your organic search traffic can be gone since then. We started seeing it here at the agency around January, February in beta mode. And then once it was fully released around April timeframe, people across the globe had started seeing that when they search something, you get this little summary or the AI overview. And now everybody's just used to it. It's part of your daily lives. But the key is, how are you going to defend your traffic from that? And it's really broken down in a couple different areas. So number one, you have to first look at your landed traffic. And what I mean by that is go to Google Analytics and look at a landing page report. And what this means is it's going to show you the top landing pages. Initially, it's the top 10 for whatever time period you're looking at. So just look at last month or look at the last 90 days. What pages on your site are showing up as the top 10 most landed on pages? That's not visited, it's landed on, which means that this is where traffic is initially going to your site. For most companies, it's going to be the homepage. But for some companies, articles a lot of times can be driving in the most traffic organically because it's tied to long tail organic searches. So first look at that report and see, what are my top 10? Then from there, what I want you to do is compare it. Look at May, June, July of 2025 versus the previous year in 2024, or even versus the previous period of the quarter before it, and see, was there a change? And then even look at the last 3 months, whenever you're watching this, versus the end of 2025 or middle of 2025. There's most likely is going to be a decline in some area. Now, depending on what drives the most amount of traffic to your site organically, that's going to dictate the effectiveness of zero-click searches. If most of your traffic is going to product pages and it's based on very short keywords or very short phrases, then maybe not as much. But for people that are seeing a lot of their traffic comes from articles or longer tail keywords or pages that have longer words in the search volume, you most likely will see a reduction. One of our clients, 3 out of the 5 top landing on pages were articles that were very well written, have been ranking high for the last couple of years. They saw about a 27.5% reduction when I compared May, June, July versus the previous period, and especially versus the previous year in 2024. And that's because the answers to the questions that people were searching and they would normally click on their article were already showing up in the AI overview, and they were ranked in the AI overview and they were cited in it. So you've got the AI overview in the middle, and then on the right hand side you've got the section where it shows the citations of where are they pulling this information from. So first you have to look at the effectiveness that it's had. So you can either look at user acquisition and say, based on the sources, direct traffic, organic, paid media, etc., referrals, you can say, has my organic traffic reduced in middle of 25, end of 25 versus the previous year in 24? So keep in mind, it basically hit in April, May of 25. That is the effect of zero-click searches, not necessarily your SEO positions. You can certainly look at that and say, hey, my SEO rankings for all the keywords that I have, hopefully you're tracking in SEMrush or your agency is, all of my SEO rankings have been consistently good, no major losses or major gains, but my organic traffic has reduced, then that's from zero-click searches. So the way to look at it from what's being affected, so first you're gonna look at the pages that probably were affected, or the category of organic search, and then look at the pages specifically that had the biggest hit. If we're going to dig down a rabbit hole, let's do it. Start with organic as the traffic source. What is the effectiveness? Maybe you saw a 15% drop in overall search traffic over whatever period you set. Maybe you're like, you know what, that's not bad. But if you then go and say, let me see a report in Google Analytics for landing page, and specifically landing page, you can filter and say, sort it based on the first user source or the medium, you may look at it and say, oh, this one in particular, these pages or these articles saw the biggest drop. Maybe they're 80%, but their volume reduction in the grand scheme of all pages, organic search, only resulted in 15% total. but it was 80% per page for a couple of your key pages. It usually affects the longer tail keywords. So if you're typing in something in a search and you say a normal phrase, it may not show up. But when you type in things like best, top, versus, any sort of comparison type information, or the how things work, or how this is better than that, etc., you type those phrases in, you're going to see the AI overview. You're going to see the main section of where it's pulling information from, the citations on the right hand side. Look at that and think about it. Step 2 is determine what those keywords are, those phrases. Determine if you were to search for your company, what would you type in? Obviously, you've got the main keywords where you're looking after like a theme of 3 words that defines your business. So for us, it would be like digital marketing agency or performance marketing agency. The people aren't usually just typing that in, but that's like a keyword that we want to track because it drives in traffic for us. If I type in a longer tail keyword, what would I want to type for myself? So I could say best marketing agencies in Austin or in Texas, or best marketing agencies that work with medical, industrial, manufacturing, SaaS, fintech, etc. And then it should show up an AI overview of those results. So 0-click searches then comes into play. And so step 3 of this is going to be, how do I show up there? How do I get at the top of that? And it's really relatively simple process to do. And we've proved it with a couple customers where we're able to completely change them not showing up in AI overview into showing up in as little as 7 days. That's not always the case. And keep in mind that those citations will shift all the time. We ourselves have looked at it in our monthly reporting meetings. We see some of our keywords and phrases jump up to position 1. We then have an icon that says, hey, you're in the AI overview, that's what SEMrush does. And we're like, dang, we're at the top. When we searched ourselves, there we are. And then 3 days later or 30 days later, you're gone. These things are not necessarily something that's just going to get you there and keep you there. These are things that can get you there, and then you have to do other work to keep yourself in those positions. But number 1, you're going to want to look at the specific citations of articles or pages that the competitor is ranking for when you're not. Look at those pages and see, what are they doing there? Is it an article, a blog posting? Do they have a lot of images, etc.? So look at the person that's at the top, and then also look at the AI overview and see who's been citing the most. Are they citing one specific person or information from 1, 2, or 3 of those sources versus all 10 that are listed? Number 2, you're going to want to look at your page that you think should be ranking for it. You want to add a couple sections to it. You're going to want a table of contents on that article or that page specifically. This is meant for the LLMs, and Gemini is no different. It's going to want to be able to skim it and organize it in a fashion where it can look at the phrases of the table of contents and then quickly go to those pages. A TLDR, so too long didn't read section. So you want to be able to summarize the content in a shorter piece of content. It's no longer just like, here's a massive 1,500 word article, or here's a page with 1,000 words to it. You have to organize it to where there's short snippets of information, make it to where it doesn't look super weird on the page. Especially if it's an article, it's easier to make it not look weird. If it's a products page, you're going to have to use some creativity as to how you show this information. The next thing is going to be an FAQ section. At the bottom of each page, you need to have frequently asked questions with answers, 5 to 7 on every single page that you want to try and rank for AI overview. Again, this is not a foolproof plan, but these are things that we've done and others have done that give people the best chance for showing up in AI overview. So FAQ question, questions and answers, 5 to 7 of them. And most importantly, the schema markup on your page has to be done properly. There's tons of tools to be able to check if your schema is done properly, but you'll be able to mark that thing up, and you want to make sure that the H tag on the questions in FAQs is either an H2 or an H3, depending on how your page is set up. So let's say, for argument's sake, it's probably going to be an H3 for most people. Set those all as H3 for the title, but then leave the description or the answer to that specific question as normal paragraph text. So a little bit of back-end SEO on-page optimization with schema markup on the entire page, specifically in the FAQ section, and then putting an H3, maybe sometimes an H4, depending on how much information you have above it, to be able to have that structured properly to say the question is an H3 and then the answer is just normal text. So once you put those things in place, now you have to track it. You have to keep typing that question in, check it every couple of days, have different people check it to be able to see, are you climbing those rankings? If you're going to be a power user and use things like SEMrush, SEMrush has a whole AI visibility search platform in it. We have multiple licenses here. We spend way too much money each month on SEMrush to track positions and do research. So we're able to unlock it and say, hey, show me visibility for this domain, and then track specific prompts inside of the user's project on our client side, to where we're tracking anywhere from 20 to 30 prompts per month to say, how are they showing up for this prompt versus these other prompts? How are their competitors showing up? How many times are they mentioned or cited? And what specific page is being ranked for that? So this is a whole new way to look at search. It's never going to go back to what it was in 2024. I just had a client this week say, hey, if we're going to compare things, what's a benchmark that we're using? Should we use 2025 as a benchmark? And I would say yes, to a certain extent you should. This is the new way of searching. This is a new experience that people are having. You, I'm sure, have seen it yourself. So you have to say, like, whatever worked great in 2024 and before, and whatever volume of people you were getting, it's not going to be the same when it comes to search, because Google drastically changed the search environment. And I'm sure that there's going to be more changes coming. Even if you look at what ChatGPT has done with Atlas and the releasing of it, they're trying to steal traffic from Google to try and pull users off of Google searching and just using Atlas to search, which is a great platform, has lots of benefits. Maybe they'll make some headway and get a lot of traffic taken back, but at a minimum, the way that people are going about it is different. One thing to note, and one extra point, is that if you do use something like SEMrush and you are tracking your responses and where you're ranking, you have two main options. You can say, track me on AI Overview or Gemini, or you can say, track me on those same phrases on ChatGPT. So again, if you look at the entire search world, it's no longer just about putting in keywords, writing optimized copy, making sure that you're tracking it, producing more copy against it, new articles, new content showing that you're an authoritative source. It's more about the experience that people are having. They're typing in longer tail keywords and questions to it, and they're getting different results, diving deeper in AI mode, or not even going to Google and showing up in ChatGPT. They're all crawling the same, let's say, database of stuff on the internet. So you just want to make sure that your content is easily readable. And one special note, when you are creating new content, and this is something that we've changed internally here in 2026, is it's no longer just like write article content based on keywords or long tail keywords that I want to show up for. What I've gone and done is change the complete strategy here of the service offering and said, while you do need to continue to create content, articles do matter, the way to structure is different, to where I can write articles specifically for AEO or answer engine optimization. People type in a comparison type phrase, who is the best, what are the top, or comparing this to that. I want to write an article that's specifically doing that with all of the good promising structure of, let's review it one more time, the table of contents, a too long didn't read, organization with FAQs, and schema markup just as like the top initials. I can do all of that for that, but if I specifically are answering the question more directly, I have the higher likelihood of that article being shown up and cited in the AI overview, as well as being shown up in ChatGPT, because it's just searching the net anyway. So as you're creating new content, don't just say, hey, what are we doing this year? What are we doing this month? We're going to write more SEO articles. We're going to write more pillar content, or content that's rich with 2,500 words, 3,000 words, 1,500 words of content. And you can say, hey, I'm going to do that, but if I'm only doing one per month or two per month, I'm going to do half of those for SEO and the other half for AEO. Again, you can't just say like they're both meant for each. Your topic, your titles, and everything is going to change for AEO slightly than it would for SEO. So keep that in mind when you're planning out your content calendar. So if you guys got value out of this, share it with somebody that you know. Make sure that you push this out internally to anybody that's handling marketing, because this is affecting a lot of different people, and these are the best ways to circumvent it. Follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll see you on the next one.